Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do every day, maybe with our loved ones over dinner, with coworkers at the water cooler, etc., when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or sort of more agreed upon fact-based reality. Although, because Dr. Ray and I, Dr. K, are social constructionists, we don't actually believe there's one true objective reality, but rather our own personal versions of it constructed in the context of relationships. But you get the idea. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality out here, off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. K, and I'm here alone. You can check in and take a seat wherever you like, but let's get this puppy started. We're going to talk about Love is Blind again. So today, I'm going to do a deep dive into a number of scenes, little brief scenes from Love is Blind, but I'm actually going to include those scenes in the recording. So if you have not seen Love is Blind, this is the episode for you. You can get a taste of this season. You can get an idea of what this couples bring in for content and sort of mental health, relational content we can think about. And also hear some of my reactions basically to these couples, but in a contextualized way. Also, you'll notice that we're focusing on two couples. One is KB and Edmond, Kalybriah and Edmond, and the other focuses on Madison and Joe. We're going to start with Kalybriah and Edmond. I'm also going to do the little check-in and reality check portions as well today. So why don't I start there? For my check-in, what's on my heart and mind that I'm bringing in today, so that you have a sense of what I'm bringing in that you might be hearing. You know, biases you might notice around the fringes based on my mental status coming in. Why don't I throw this one to my mama? My mama had her big birthday this past weekend, big celebrations for her big number birthday this year. So that was a lot of fun, and actually had a pretty big party with friends from nearby. Kind of party we haven't really had in that house since my dad died. So it was a lot of fun. And my dad died over a decade ago, 12 years. So this house was brimming again, the house. Also my brother and his twin babies. So my niece and nephew who are 5, and my other brother also has a son. And so all 3 of them were running around and joyous, just the way I used to be the little one in the house running around. It's just a total hoop. And it's always lovely seeing the family from another state that come to visit. So what a joy. Okay. So moving on. Welcome. Moving right along to Reality Check. Reality Check is our segment on a study that we bring in that we think could be useful to y'all for some reason or another. Maybe it's related to what we're talking about. Maybe it's not. Who cares? We're talking about something that we think could be helpful regardless. But it could be related to mental health, psychology, the shows we watch, reality TV, social media, blah, blah, blah. So for my study today, I picked one that's from 2013, also from a Harvard researcher named Alison Wood Brooks. And she found that interpreting anxiety as excitement can improve performance in high-pressure situations, including public speaking and difficult math problems. So the idea here is that when we get anxious and when we get excited, something we've talked about on this podcast before, it looks the same in our body. So we get amped up, right? You think about like sweating, sweaty palms, racing heart rate. Anything you think of as being relevant when you get nervous or anxious, also going to be relevant when you're excited for a new date, for example. And in fact, I think that's the context that came up with in this podcast, was that when you're going on a first date, you might feel nervous, but it helps to relabel that as feeling excited, because who knows? It could be excitement, not nervousness anyway, right? It sort of depends entirely on how you label it. What language do you use for yourself when you feel a certain way? So this is what Brooks was looking at. She published this in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, General, challenging the common belief that trying to calm down is the best way to cope with anxiety, because it's not. Rather than trying to be like, "Ooh, okay, calm down. really actually telling yourself to calm down and not being able to makes you more anxious because you're like, I don't have control over myself. It's not working. So instead, try doing something like saying to yourself, I'm excited. And that's what you had folks do. So in one experiment called karaoke, participants sang karaoke, and some were instructed to say, I am excited, while others said, I am calm or I am anxious as a control. Those who expressed excitement performed better based on objective measures of pitch and rhythm. How about that? Then, public speaking, participants who said they were excited gave longer speeches and were rated by independent judges as more persuasive, competent, and confident than those who tried to calm down. The point about the independent judges is that they were independent from each other, but also from the researchers, so they didn't know the study. Math performance. For the math portion, participants were asked to complete a difficult math test. Similar to other tasks, those who were told to get excited performed better than those who were instructed to calm down. So it really shows a mind-body connection. If you have an anxiety mindset, you're going to focus on things like stress threat. What's going to happen right now? Is there a saber-toothed tiger coming through the door? Whereas if you have an excitement mindset, then you're much more likely to be like, cool, this is good things happening here. There's going to be a good outcome. I'm about to have fun. Right? We think of positive things when we think of excitement. So, in conclusion, making a simple, minimal self statement like, I am excited, is an effective strategy for managing anxiety rather than trying to get rid of it by trying to calm down. In general, one of the distinctions between cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy is that the Latin, they're sisters, like acceptance and commitment therapy is a subtype of cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. And in general, the CBT branch of therapies are focused on the here and now type of content, like what problems are people facing in the present. They're also focused on changing your thoughts and behaviors as a way of influencing your mood or feelings. And so CBT actually has this idea that we can get rid of things like anxiety if we can think a certain way. Whereas acceptance and commitment therapy thinks, let's change our relationship to anxiety rather than trying to eliminate it. And so that's a much healthier, I think, view in terms of being successful also, but in terms of not feeling down on yourself when you aren't able to eradicate an emotion that was meant to be there evolutionarily. So, right. This is more of an acceptance commitment therapy thing, I would say, where it's about changing your relationship to your anxiety and saying, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm not anxious. I'm excited. So let's do this, friends. I'm excited to talk about Love is Blind by myself today. No, truly, I am actually excited. It's a great show. It's a rich show. And we're trying a different format today, so that's fun. I can have fun with that. Hope you all can too. So we're going to move along. There we go. Okay. So before we start talking about the actual content and these relationships and so forth, a couple disclaimers. Number one, I'm a therapist. I'm not your therapist, unless you're one of my clients or our clients, really, who listen to this. In which case, hello. Thank you, friends. Glad you're here. If you are not one of our clients in real life, though, we're not your therapist, and we're not the therapists of those on these shows. So while I might talk about mental health content that's relevant or adjacent to some of these folks, I don't have any sort of right or foot to stand on in terms of diagnosis or other more serious recommendations. Instead, I'm talking about things that are kind of common with what presentation they might be bringing in, or relational things that are just suggested. Doesn't work for everybody. Might not work if it turned out I got to know them better. This brings me to the next disclaimer that is specific to this type of episode. So while I'm going to be critiquing what I watch, so sort of saying like, oh, this seemed to miss a little bit. What if this person tried to say this? And in fact, that's going to be mostly my goal or theme is sort of like what could be said differently here. That doesn't mean that what they said didn't make sense to them in the moment, and absolutely makes sense based on things like genetics, how they were raised, what they saw the last time they saw this dynamic happen, what they said the last time they saw this happen, how that was responded to the last time they saw this happen, and so forth. There's sort of conditioning that happens, but also how we're raised affects our reactions. So absolutely there are contextual factors, positionality, sociopolitical identities that influence these moments. And so even though I'm suggesting like, oh, maybe they could say this, I could be absolutely wrong for the rest of what is going on for them. And this is not meant to be judgy because of course it makes sense given their status, what they said at the time or how they behaved. That said, even though it makes sense in the greater scheme of the contextual factors, I'm not saying that the behaviors were out of their control. Like these are folks just like the rest of us who have some control over behaviors and also a lot of factors that kind of guide where we go. So maybe, watching this back will influence how they behave in the same situation in the future, and maybe not. That again would be based on a lot of factors contextually. So still, I was thinking that we all could use this as sort of help, because oftentimes we listen to these episodes and we're sort of like, ooh, that missed, but like, what would I say, right? Like, what would be better? So I'm just giving one version of that from a licensed clinical psychologist point of view. Take it or leave it, baby. Okay, so, right, let's get started. Let me also just say, of course, it's easier to like put my critique out there than it is for someone to put clay on the wheel, if you will. So it's easier for us to shape something than it is for us to put the clay on the wheel to begin with. Of course, I'm aware of the fact that I'm going to be able to critique this in a way that's a lot easier for me to do than it was for them to have the scene to begin with, to engage in the interaction to begin with. So, yeah, worth noting. Let's start with a contextual scene. Yeah. So we're going to start with a scene that contextualizes our first key scene. Our first key scene that's going to be a little bit more in depth is the one between KB and Edmond in the honeymoon suite when he wants to talk about sex. But we're going to talk about that after we look at the contextualized scene of him talking to other men about having to wait to have sex. Okay. Let's see how this goes.
All probably having sex at the same time, which is what's crazy, brother.
I haven't hit it yet.
You're lying. Yeah. That's because she said she's waiting for marriage, right?
She's waiting.
You guys mess around though?
Oh yeah, but she waiting to have like the real deep sex part.
No, I get that. When you guys are just out there, like, being open with each other, that's all you can ask for.
I respect it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a big day when we actually have sex. It's gonna be like, oh shit, okay, this is really serious.
But you guys are touching up on each other. Everything else, I mean, like,
everything else, like,
if the passion is there, does it feel like so bad to wait?
Does it feel natural?
I'm telling y'all, I got a hit before marriage.
Well, you have the rest of your life to hit once you're married.
So, I mean, you should at least give her 4 weeks.
Anton, bro, you gonna tell me you're not gonna have sex with your girl before marriage? You're gonna marry your girl?
It depends on the girl, man. It depends on the situation. I've gone months without getting laid, like 2-3 months, whatever.
Oh, you poor guy. You fucking poor.
I'm okay with that.
This is a veteran.
I'm okay with that.
It sucks, but I mean...
It sucks.
Okay, worth pausing for a second just to say interesting confusion happened there, where for Edmond, what he's thinking Anton just said is wild, because he's like, oh, you're okay with the fact you had to wait 2 to 3 months? That's wild. I can't believe you'd be okay with that. Whereas Jordan was sort of like, oh, poor you. He's seeing it as like, oh, you're martyring yourself, you poor suffering soul, that you'd have to wait 2 to 3 months, basically thinking that's not a long time to have waited. So interesting sort of confusion there, and says a lot about not only Edmund's views about how long someone should wait for sex, but then also what he thinks every other man thinks as well. Which does say something about how his opinions about sex and waiting for sex has a lot to do with other people's opinions.
It just depends, dude. I may feel exactly the same way you're feeling if I was in your shoes. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think
it just depends on the connection of the girl. That's what I feel like. If she's a virgin, okay. That's a good reason. But if it's just like some bullshit reason or something like that, then I'd be like, I would probably feel like, oh, well, do you really like me then or no? Like,
if I don't hit before get married, I'm gonna start questioning shit.
Okay, I just want to say about the end of that. It's going to come up that Edmond didn't realize that Anton hadn't had sex yet either. And so this was an interesting conversation at the end here between Anton and Edmond, where he's sort of saying, like, if I was in your shoes, I don't know, maybe I'd feel differently. And so I wonder what Edmond thought he meant by that, if he thought that Anton was kind of in his shoes and also had not had sex yet. Anton does go on to say, if she's a virgin, that's okay, that's a good reason. But if there's another reason that's not good enough, then I might think that I'm not good enough. And then, sure enough, Edmond says in response, if it turns out we have to wait till marriage, I'm going to start questioning things. Meaning, like, questioning if she loves him. So it's possible that Edmond read this as, like, Allie's a virgin, and so Anton thinks that it's okay because of that reason. And then, but he's sort of saying, if I was in your shoes where your girl is not a virgin, I don't know how I'd feel. Honestly, it could be, because that comes up in the next scene. So, other alternatives, he just totally forgot the conversation with Anton, and has nothing to do with why he didn't know that he had already had sex with Allie. The other thing just worth mentioning, though, too, is that I do understand this instinct of sort of thinking, like, do they even want to be with me if they don't want to have sex with me? Because that is also something that happens. We've actually seen it on Love is Blind before, where people have waited to have sex, and we end up realizing it's because one of the people who was sort of in control of that didn't want to have sex. That's totally valid too. So I do understand that instinct. And I also think deciding that you get to have a say in like what's an appropriate reason to wait to have sex is effing wild. That is not up to you to decide what is a valid reason. It's up to the person who's in that scenario. It's their body. So I don't like the idea of like setting up this, that Anton sort of set up this image in Edmond's head that he could choose what a good reason was for waiting. Not good. Okay. So this next scene is going to be Edmond and KB in bed in the honeymoon suite, talking about sex. He's massaging her feet.
I can move your feet all night long. I can do many things to you all night long.
Honestly,
Respectfully.
did it bother you that we were the only couple that didn't have sex?
Are we definitely the only couple? Yeah.
Everybody's had sex. That didn't bother you?
I ain't know.
Oh, oops. Could have kept that to myself.
Anton did too?
Yeah.
I ain't know they had sex. Oh my God. So.
Does that bother you now that
It
you
don't bother me.
Okay, so right here is what I was referring to, where he didn't realize that Anton hadn't had sex yet. And so it changes the whole conversation with KB when she brings up, is it hard for you to know that everyone else has had sex or not? He quite literally says, yeah, as he first answers, because she said, it's hard to know everyone else has had sex but us. And he goes, oh, have they? Yeah. Like, yeah, that does bother me. And he's even nodding when she goes to ask again. And he does a little shake, like, no, but then he goes, well, I just didn't know. So that's the only reason he was shaking his head is because he was going to say, I just didn't know. But he's definitely bothered by it. Yeah, we're going to see more about that. But
Me, but it's okay.
What are you thinking?
I mean, it's okay, but I'm the only dude. I mean, you're the only girl too, so we in the same position.
I'm also different than most, so like if that helps, like I've made people wait 9 months. I made people wait years.
So you gonna have me wait 9 months for the years?
That ain't what I'm saying. I told you married, so 4 weeks. That's nothing compared to the 9 months I make people wait.
I know, but what are the ones you ain't let wait?
Those was the ones I didn't want shit with. The people I might have had my little one-nighters with or whatever, and I knew that whatever physical we about to do when you wake up in the morning, not even wake up, baby, don't even go to sleep here. Get the fuck up and leave. I don't respect you. I don't look at you that way.
I gotta wait. I don't know. I don't want to think
30 days
deep
don't
with
hurt.
it. I don't want deep, but
30 days is
I
bad.
know, but
30 days is bad.
KB, you can interrupt me if you want. It's okay. But you letting.
What?
a few things to say here. So, first of all, we can see Edmond is having a hard time with accepting that she might have slept with other people in less time that she's going to make him wait. And he also seems to have a different view on what waiting means. So, where she thinks that waiting makes it more meaningful, he thinks waiting makes it less, like he's almost in a race, right? Like sooner is better in his mind, whereas her mind is more, it's worth the wait. Like wait makes it worthwhile, in fact, to have sex because you're going to be together longer. More of a relationship comes from that. And often we find that in reality, that if we wait from having sex instead of having it the first night, you might end up more likely to stay in a relationship longer term. That does seem to be anecdotally the case. So I understand her point. I also understand that he just doesn't see it that way. So to him, it's like really dire that this is happening. Like delay of gratification is hard for him, or he just doesn't see sex this way, or whatever. The other thing is when KB said, I'm different than most, if that helps. I don't know what she meant by that. So she's saying right before that, like, okay, did you know that we're the only ones who haven't had sex? He says, it's really hard for me as a man. Well, I know we're in the same position, but it's really hard for me as a man. And she goes, well, I'm different than most, if that helps. So I wonder if that's actually meant to say, like, you don't need to worry about how it feels for me because I'm okay with this. I've made people wait longer. So, like, if it helps you in terms of thinking about this to know that I'm not upset by it, I bet that's actually it. I haven't put that together till just now, but kind of the only thing that makes sense because otherwise it's sort of like, well, if it makes you feel any better, if it made people wait longer, and his reaction to that is like, so you can make me wait longer. And by the way, that actually would make sense if she meant like, if it makes you feel any better, you're only waiting a month. But it's not quite how she said it. Like, I'm different than most, so it just is a little different than that. So I don't know. Now I think I've figured it out, though. The other thing I just wanted to say is that clearly, like, comparing himself to other people is the tough part because he's just sort of like, if I'm the only guy, like, so.
It's tough. I hate the suspense of it all. Like, can you talk?
No, because it's like, it
Like,
just
just
sucks.
talk.
I don't want to hear myself say it because, like, it really sucks. Oh, no. I'm giving you my all, KB. I'm the only dude on the trip that ain't get to have sex with you. I'm giving you my all. You let dudes that ain't even care about you, and you like, I don't give a fuck about it. You let them have sex with you? Oh my fuck.
Okay, this is really like almost the meat of this scene. So one is that he slips up and says, I'm the only one who doesn't get to have sex with you on this trip, which is not true because no one on the trip is allowed to have sex with her at all. It would be him or no one. But there's this Freudian nature to that slip because he also gets really concerned with the fact that she slept with other people at all, like ever in other places. Because his immediate next concern is, and you had those one night stands, you let people you barely knew at all have sex with you, and you won't let me when I'm giving you my all. Again, sort of acting like it's earned, like sex is earned, rather than the fact that like she wants it to be meaningful and that the relationship comes first, which is way better and more important than being one of those one night stands where she just fucked it and dumped it, right? Whatever. Fucked it and ducked it. So, just the point being, there's a way different perspective for both of them on what this means in terms of waiting. He's getting really upset. Like, he's getting quite bothered by this. And obviously, he's again sort of like stuck in this imagery of her having sex with other people. I wanted to mention when he said earlier, he sort of started by saying, like, you're letting, and then stopped. And she said, what is it? Like, say what you're going to say. He's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to hear myself say it. So the last time we stopped, right before the last time we stopped, I think he was going to say, you're letting strangers have sex with you, but not me. Or you're letting everyone else, so sort of like catastrophizing or all or nothing thinking, what she's doing here. I'm the only one who's not going to have sex with you. Again, he means on the trip, which is wrong, but, it's actually like he actually is trying to say everyone else who's had sex with you, which is interesting because, again, that makes it all or nothing thinking. So there's plenty of men who have not had sex with. So they're sort of like letting, I think, was beginning into that territory. So I think again, it speaks to the language he wants to use for himself. Like she's letting people do things, but not letting him. He feels like he's being punished in some way, kept from doing something he should be allowed to do. Which, yeah, she's not an object.
I'm not trying to cry, but
You was so for real, baby.
really though, like what the fuck?
I think it's just an
but really though, you let other dudes that you don't care about, whatever the
Yeah, so right there, he says you let other dudes do stuff that you don't care about. So letting is right there, yeah.
fucking case is, they got one night stand, whatever the fucking case is. And here I am rubbing your feet, giving you my fucking all.
Okay, I think here, if I were Edmund, another thing he could think about saying is, I understand the importance of waiting for marriage for you. I do see it differently, where it sort of feels like my worth is wrapped up in it, where I would matter more to you if you wanted to make me happy now, which includes me wanting to have sex now. And I'm rubbing your feet, which isn't in order to have sex, but it just shows that I'm here, I'm all in. And so when I hear about people who did very little to deserve having sex with you, that they got to on the first night, it just feels weird to me. And at the same time, I totally want to respect your autonomy and the fact that you're allowed to have sex with anybody you want, whenever you want. It's your body. And also, I just want you to know it's starting to like wear on me a little bit. And just the fact that my worth feels tied up in it and it makes me feel like I'm not lovable. Right. So if he can be able to say something like that, again, I don't think that makes sense to come from him in this scenario, in this moment. I get why he reacted the way he did, just given his own context, but that's something that we could consider, as an audience, that any one of us in this scenario could consider saying if you felt the same way, but you were aware of why it was bad that he's sort of saying this. I mean, he's essentially shaming her in both directions. He's shaming her for not having sex with him, for being a prude, and he's shaming her for having too much sex with other people. So it's very much double bind energy. So I don't blame her for reacting the way she is either. She giggles a little bit. I think giggling at him probably isn't the best, but I also understand it because he's taking it so seriously and sort of getting so emotional, and you're clearly not understanding it. And so I think if I were in her scenario, something else I would say at some point here is something like, I hear you saying that it is upsetting to not have sex now, and especially with other guys having had sex now. And also my feelings about it, and as the person whose body is also involved, I really feel strongly that we'll be stronger and have a stronger foundation as a relationship if we wait. And so to me, giving up and having sex sooner actually feels like we're giving up on our relationship. And I don't want to do that. So any extent of me staying on course with wanting to wait to have sex shows you I'm here and all in too. So foot rubs, they should happen anyway. Shouldn't even matter if they're having because of sex or not. That should be relevant to it. But if you feel like you don't want to give me back foot rub, if you're not able to have sex, then let's stop, right? Like if it's making you uncomfortable or something. But I want to know that you're all into, and I want you to know that me waiting on sex is that for me. Something like that, right? That was a little bit windy and whatever, but long-winded, windy, a little long-winded, I should say. All right, next.
You tell me about marriage, and if it don't work,
That's a huge moment because he's sort of implying, and actually, it's the first time he really does kind of almost start crying. So it's really upsetting to him because it's sort of like, well, this will all be for nothing if I can't even have sex with you. If it doesn't work, I get neither you, and I never ever get to have sex with you, which almost implies he cares more about the sex than the relationship, which is wild. Um, it also implies like he'd rather have sex than be in the relationship. Therefore, that's more important to him, or at least that like if they broke up, it would be more important that they never had sex than it would be that they broke up, which is a bummer. So KB goes on to ask a really good question related to this.
So if I can have sex with you this week and we can say I don't at the altar.
I know.
I still would like to wait until marriage.
I know.
I refuse to play with you. And when it comes to sex in my eyes and sex in your eyes, I would say sex is a little more sacred to you than it is to me.
So two things. One thing is his nervous laughter when he's upset. This happens a lot in his fights with KB, and she also ends up saying like, "I hate it when you do that. It amps me up." Or not, I hate it, but she said that amps me up when you do that. And it definitely is like a nervousness, but it comes across like a little maniacal, it's across a little mean, maybe like mean sort of, or like. But I think he's trying to just like dismiss something and like let it slide off his back. But it definitely does seem to amp her up a little bit, which I don't blame her. It can be upsetting when you're upset and someone else is laughing. And then she goes on to say, it seems like sex is more sacred for you than it is for me, which is interesting. Like my first time reading it, hearing that, I was sort of like, isn't it the other way around? Like you care so much about it that you want to wait, whereas he's like ready to just do it and keep it moving. But I think she's trying to say it's sacred to you and that you like need to have it or need to know what it's like before you have marriage with someone, before you marry someone. So I guess I can see that.
And I don't mean that in like a hoish way. It's just we have had lived different lifestyles. Sex is a little more sacred to you. Sex to Joe, sex to Nick, sex to Jordan, and sex to Anton, since we like to play the comparison game, may not be as sacred to them. The fact that them other people got some coochie and you didn't, it bothers you. Am I wrong?
You're wrong.
All right, well tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. If them other people didn't have sex, you wouldn't have sat there and almost had a breakdown about the fact that we haven't. Am I wrong?
Oh my goodness.
Am I wrong? It's a yes or no.
You're wrong.
Fucking...
I think I'm more locked in with you emotionally than you are with me.
Okay. One just sort of piece of advice. Maybe one could think of it as the first time I'd say something like, what could be said here? One thing that KP could have said differently here is just sort of like, given that you care so much about social comparison, I can also imagine that you might be really struggling with the fact that other men in particular have had sex and you haven't. Do you think that that part of it is particularly difficult for you? Call it good, because her saying, she first does the comparison herself, and she even says like, since you're into comparisons, blah, blah, blah. But if she's trying to help him stop social comparing himself socially, which is something she's named, she's like, I don't do that. I try not to think about what other people think. They don't pay my bills. You shouldn't either. It's bothering you. Don't do it. And it's hard for him. He's admitted he does do that, social compare. And it is true that social comparison can help in some situations and also very much hurt us in others. So I get her instinct to sort of help him curb that behavior. But if you're setting a boundary where you're sort of like, you should stop doing this, I want you to stop doing this around me, then you should not do it either. And if you break your own boundary, it undoes the power of what you're trying to do. It undoes any work you've put towards that because they've seen you break it and now they know that it's okay for them to continue breaking it. So if you set a guideline, a boundary, a recommendation, really you must follow it yourself for it to be successful. So I think that was like a little bit of a misstep, perhaps, maybe not. And what I would have said differently was what I just referenced about, just sort of focusing on like, you might be feeling this way given that you think that way. Is that possibly a big aspect of this? Because if so, that might be worth unpacking. Because truly, who cares? If you have a different sex life than them, you know?
I'm in the morning, and it's okay, but it just hurt.
Why do you feel that way though? I'll let you know you're my handsome king.
And so then KB asks him repeatedly, like, yes or no question, does it bother you? And he says, you're wrong, like, it doesn't bother me, essentially. Which doesn't make a ton of sense, at least even with what he said earlier in the episode here. So, not sure about that one. But clearly he doesn't want to be seen as caring so much about other people. The other thing, too, is that he then says, I think I'm more into it than you are, which is like sort of a low blow, or like sort of refocuses her attention there instead, because that's a big deal to say that. And so then suddenly it's not about whether he cares about the other men.
My baby.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
my dad. I'm not as affectionate. That's me though. And I mean, these are things we have to consider when we talk about saying I do at the altar. This is who I am. It's not that I'm not as strong into it as you are. This is me.
No, and I can't be in my. I'm just always the fucking nice guy. What fuck me up? I'm too fucking nice. It be fucking me up. I'm too fucking nice. I'm too fucking nice. Fucking weird, yo.
Want to talk to me?
It's like I'm too nice. And I heard that. I know that. I get told that. You fucking nice. I always hear that. That's what you telling me. Like, you're not telling me that, but like.
I'm telling you that?
You're not telling me that, but KB, that's what I'm getting. I don't know.
Wait. No, let's backtrack.
I think I'm too fucking nice. Like, I think, I can't lie. Like.
Okay. So this is probably the most crashing out that Edmund does that we see, I think. And by the way, I've seen through episode 11, but I'm not, this is not a spoiler. Like, I'm not going to talk about the endings for any of these couples. I would say this moment is tough because I'm not sure where he went, but he clearly got triggered. And if we really unpack what he means by this and in this moment, it's kind of shitty. So he's saying, I'm just too fucking nice. And he said that in response to her pointing out, right, that he cares too much about what other guys think. And then him bringing up the fact that he likes her more than she likes him. And then he goes, I'm just too fucking nice. That's the problem. Everyone tells me that. I'm just too fucking nice. He even says, like, you're telling me that. So he's clearly triggered to, like, another time, another place, another conversation. First let me unpack what that means, and then I'll talk about what happens as a result. So saying I'm too nice in this scenario suggests that because he's not more forceful, he doesn't win. So like the nice guys finish last, right? That's sort of the implication of what he's going by here. Because he isn't more strongly forcing KB to have sex with him, because he's not a little bit meaner, a little bit rougher, he's the only one not having sex. So not only is he in this case social comparing to the other men, he's also saying I'm too nice to make you do something. Sir, that would have been coercion. So we're very glad that you're nicer than that. And that has nothing to do with the other men either. There's no coercion happening to make that we're aware of, to make the sex happen there. So I disagree that being too nice is a problem here. And I also think the implication that that's part of the problem is actually kind of dark, because you don't want to have the suggestion that if you're rougher that then she'd have sex with you. That's not good. You want the niceness to be a big part of what makes it work and why she's staying. And that's true. You're nice. This is why she's staying. It's not what's keeping her from having sex with you. So, it's also like sort of like the kind of thing where like we give ourselves an insult that's actually like a compliment. It's like, oh, I'm too perfect. I'm just too perfect. So it's just an interesting one to like really dive deep and emotionally into like that. You can tell KB's a little bit lost. She does clearly want him to stay talking to her, which I think is great. But when he tells her like, well, you're even saying that, she's like, oh, I'm saying that, and she keeps talking over him a little bit right after that. So then he all of a sudden goes,
I'm like kind of stuck on like you having one night stands.
I'm not like that anymore. I was like that. I think the last time that happened was over a year ago. You're comparing who the person that I'm engaged to, the person I'm really willing to spend the rest of my life with, to someone that didn't fucking matter to me. We can call this shit a night, to be honest with you.
okay, so you can hear what happened there. As soon as Edmond got kind of caught in the fact he said something that wasn't true, like he's like, you're saying to me I'm too fucking nice. You're saying that to me. And he's like, but that's what I'm getting. He then redirects with, well, it's just your one night stands that I'm getting caught up on, which again redirects all the, energy to be about her fucking up, something wrong with her, not him. It's sex shaming. There's so much wrong with it. Dislike it. Big no. The other thing that's ironic is that he both wants her to have sex with him and doesn't like that she had sex with anyone else. So it's sort of like, shouldn't you want her to be someone who waits on sex for marriage? You can't both want her to be someone who doesn't have sex with other people, in which case she would have to have been keeping her virginity for some reason, including waiting for marriage. But then you also don't want her to wait for marriage with you. So it's a little bit of a double bind there. And interesting. He's slut shaming her and yet upset that she's not having sex with him. Interesting. Quite a crux there to be in. So I also want to note here that Edmond changed the subject to be about how she had sex with other men for one night stand. That was also a major redirect out of his own stuff, so it could be about her, right? And I was so bummed when she took the bait and sort of was like, whoa, like that was me a year ago. That is not who I am now. You're comparing people. This is not even, no. And I was just bummed because I was like, oh no, he won. He got what he wanted. You could see the relief on his face that he did. And in fact, we can go back a little bit and show you, right?
Last time that happened was over a year ago. You're comparing who the person that I'm engaged to, the person
You can
I'm
see
really
that
willing to
she's,
spend the rest of my life with, to someone that didn't fucking matter to me.
spinning a little bit. She's got her voice has gone up in pitch, and she's clearly activated by what he said. But you can see his face has calmed right down, and he's just letting her speak now simply. So I also just want to mention now too that I was so impressed that she was like, "Let's call it a night." She noticed she spun out. She noticed that she spun out a little bit, or took the bait and was upset, and she noticed, and she said, "We're done here. Good night." And I was really impressed by that. I loved it. Okay. If I were in her scenario and he said to me, actually, it's just the one night stands, I think I would say, listen, I can understand and empathize with the fact that you're uncomfortable thinking about me having sex with other people, for sure. In this moment, we were talking about something else when you said that, and it felt like you were redirecting. So can we go back to what we were talking about? You said that you feel like you're too fucking nice. What did you mean by that? How does that relate to what we're talking about right now? Because I think maybe he thought that through. Like, what does that mean? It means I'm too nice, so therefore what? And that's why you changed the subject, perhaps. Maybe he didn't, but if they did play it out, that would have been a wholly different conversation. So that might be a way to move with that. And then also just in general saying something like, I understand and can empathize with feeling uncomfortable that I've had sex with other people. I don't like thinking about you having sex with other people. And yet also the fact that I care to make people wait should say something about how the fact that I have not had that much sex with that many people, or that I take sex seriously enough to require respect for one another before it happens. And I also tend to think that you want to be careful not to slut shame me or sex shame me, because we should be sex positive in this house if we're going to be together. That's something I care about, including for our kids. Safety positive. Okay. Next scene.
My eyes, bro, we all like really great, but like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not perfect or nothing like that.
We all have our things.
No, Nick is perfect.
No, I'm not
You're
perfect.
actually right.
Damn.
No.
just to be able to hear that would be crazy. Even though you're not, just to hear it. Even though you're not, just to hear it. I know you're fucking lucky.
To hear what?
And she knows it's not true.
To hear what? Say it.
Oh, he perfect.
You said that would be nice.
Even though it's not the case.
No.
No.
She said Nick's perfect, and I'm like, no, I got my things.
But
So this scene is way more about KP and Edmond, but I just want to mention something micro thing that happens here between Nick and Annie. So for one, they're obviously feeling uncomfortable with what just happened here, and what they kind of got themselves into based on the conversation and what's happening for KP. I also, by the way, appreciated that she just called it out as it was happening. Like, I'm sorry, what was that? But what was interesting was that Annie started to pick up on KP's energy pretty, or at least more quickly than Nick did. And you could actually see her put her head into Nick's shoulders a little bit and maybe to say something to him. I'm not sure.
Like, no, I got my things.
But
Okay, so this is the part where they're realizing, okay, she's listening. She's laughing with it. He's laughing with it. Nick's laughing.
and she knows it's not true.
To hear what? Say it.
Oh, he
Still
perfect.
laughing about it.
You said that would be nice.
Even
This
though
is
it's
where
not
Annie
the case.
clocks that you see her face go still.
She said Nick's perfect, and I'm like,
Okay, so he's like, no, I have
got
my
things.
issues. And she goes,
But
she's looking back at him, trying to give him a look. Okay, right? You see her look away from them enough that her nose is in his shoulder. So you see his shoulder go up to push her back into the setting. He sort of goes, like, oh, don't go, no, don't hide, stay here with us, which is funny because I think she's sort of trying to like hide from it because it's uncomfortable, but also to sort of signal to him like, this isn't good, you know? So that's such an interesting micro moment between the two of them. I found it really curious. And it shows that she's sort of trying to signal to him and he's not letting her hide nor signal to him what's going on. I think he has a sense it's going awry because he's trying to help Edmund, but not well. He's like, no. I was just talking about how I'm perfect. That's fine. I know I'm not perfect. I have my things. That's not helping her at all.
still like not even saying that ain't the case. Like,
Are you comparing your relationship?
no, I'm not. I'm just saying that's nice to hear. Like,
Yeah, right.
it was
Okay, so that's where she brings up the like comparing our relationships issue, which has been long standing between them. And so that's her like, okay, it looks like kind of like what's happening here. Worth mentioning, it was a little bit condescending to say, are you comparing your relationship again? And you see Annie sort of go, you're like, oh, you're in trouble. Or that was from a different time, because honestly, it kind of looked mismatched, but
crazy.
Crazy. Admire, don't compare.
I'm not comparing.
so that was tough. And you see it on his face as well. But she actually mocks him a little bit right there. She's like, yeah, that'd be crazy. And you see him sort of like shake his head, like rough. So clearly there's a little bit of condescension there. It's not something I would necessarily think would go well in front of other people. So especially for someone who's male to feel mocked and condescended against, their manhood's at risk, right? So he reacts poorly.
Admire, don't compare.
I'm not comparing.
It's a little condescending.
Here, that would be perfect. Would be great. You're comparing. You're making it seem like I'm not doing enough.
No,
If you said it, you meant it. It wasn't a joke.
I don't hear no positive stuff from you.
You say you don't hear enough positive? And this is the place to bring that shit up at?
I can just not.
Give me another problem now. If this is the place for you to tell me that kind of shit. We live together and you ain't tell me this.
I don't want to do this here.
You brought it up.
I know, but I don't want to do this here.
You have no answer for me? You brought that here.
Because I can't lie to people. What have you told me that was nice? Like, what have you?
I literally just told you last night that I appreciated you so much. Why the fuck are you bringing that here?
I know.
I was cheering you on. Like, I've been vibing with you when you started with me, and I didn't do a full thing to you.
I know.
Because drunk, you literally just said you good. Stop cutting me off. You hear me talking. You hear me talking. Stop cutting me off. Talking about you know. You started it. But why, though, right here?
Okay, this is tough because I'm not sure how he's supposed to answer this. It's sort of a rhetorical question. She's sort of saying, like, why did you bring this up? Right? Like, ultimately, she wants him to be like, I don't know. I shouldn't have, right? Like, ultimately, which he kind of does try to say by saying, I don't want to talk about this here. He sort of is saying, like, okay, you're right. Like, I shouldn't have. This isn't the right place. I don't want to talk about it here. But because he doesn't say it like, you're right, we shouldn't, it sounds like he's now saying like, well, I don't want to talk about it here. And that means that he's allowed to say it, but she's not, which is something she'll bring up later. We'll talk about, but it does take a little bit of power back, I think is the point, which he needed in the moment, but it also came across as like patronizing back to her, which she didn't like, obviously. And it suggests that what she's talking about doesn't matter, but he's allowed to say what he wants. I think her focus on why did you bring it up here is tough because there's no real good answer to that, and he clearly doesn't know how to get there. But fair to say, don't cut me off and so forth.
Okay. Like, what did I do for you to start with me? I'm sure.
I was making like.
You looked at me and said, when was the last time you said something nice to me? And then said, when did you say something nice to me today? Edmond, when was I home for you to say something to me? And the time I was home, did you say something to me about?
No, you walked in with like everything that was wrong.
And why?
Because something went wrong.
But you still don't understand why it went wrong.
I know, but baby.
That's the problem, Edmond. You have a good night. I have a good night. That you're being fucking weird.
Okay. She's saying, did I bring anything to you? Like, what was I like when I got home? Well, you came to me with everything that was wrong. She's like, because? He's like, because something did go wrong. Right. And then do you even know what that is? No. Okay. So then let's finish here. I mean, I don't know. Right now, the point is like they're having a hard time because they're at the bar and this is not a great time or place for this. So anything that gets them away from this conversation, I'm going to support. And her sort of saying like, not now. You have a good night. I'll have a good night because you're being fucking weird or whatever. I mean, is he being weird or is it just that they're both a little bit of showboaty energy, like they're in front of other people, have more extra eyes on them, extra need to sort of show up as like the alpha in their relationship and so forth. So I don't know, it's just tough. It's a tough dynamic. It's not, no one's gonna have fun in that scenario. Something Edmond could have said differently when she said, "Why did you bring it up here?" He could have said, "You know what? You're right. I was comparing, and it did sort of sound bad about you, and that was unfair. And I do appreciate any time you brought up something positive. It has really meant so much to me. And so I think that just means that when you have in a day's time because you're upset with me for something I did, understandably upset with me because of something I did, that because of that, I just sort of was like, retaliating in some way with that comment. And I shouldn't have done that. And I'm going to work on not bringing things like that up, bringing our issues into the bar with other people." Right? That's ideal world.
I love you.
I don't want to hear that.
I know,
No, Edmond, I don't want to hear that.
I know, but you keep talking to me.
No,
I'm not
Edmond,
looking.
I don't want to.
I'm gonna listen to you. I'm being serious.
If you can't be an adult and look at me and have a conversation, I'm not going to talk to you. I need you to grow up and be an adult and talk to me about stuff. That's all I be asking of you.
Nah, but really though, I do love you.
I mean, I don't want to hear that.
I know. I don't care about being serious.
No. I mean, how many times have I told you that anytime I'm upset, I don't want to hear how you love me and you need me. I want a solution to the problem.
But
no, answer my question. Please stop doing that. Answer my question.
You might walk away. I don't know if you're about to walk away, but
I'm asking a question and you never answer the questions I ask you. Do you understand how hard that is for me?
Never answer
the questions. Edmond, please stop.
He's sort of repeatedly saying like, I love you, I need you, kinds of stuff, which she doesn't like because she's looking for an effing apology. And if you're just saying that, it's sort of like you're thinking that will smooth it over. And when she says, I don't want to hear that, he says, I know, but it's true. I think he inside is thinking, I know you don't want to hear it because you don't feel the same way. Like, I don't think he's realizing she's saying, I don't want to hear it because it's not an apology. Because he still seems to not think he's done anything wrong. And then all he needs to do is just sort of smooth it over with her, which is why he's trying to smooth it over with I love you. Instead of really listening to what she's saying is the problem. So, yeah, frankly, I think he should just listen and listen to what she has to say.
You might want to walk away.
No, don't tell me what to do because you're...
I'm not telling you what to do. I say you might.
Why don't you just walk away?
I think you're going to walk away. I think you're going to walk away is a bizarre thing to say. And like either it's a self-fulfilling prophecy and she walks away, or it makes her stay because she doesn't want to give in to what you're saying is going to happen. And he does end up walking away. So clearly he wanted her to walk away and be first to walk away or something. Yeah, let's watch it.
I know, I might die tonight. I might die. I think I'm about to die. I know, I'm about to die.
No.
I may die. I just walked away.
Hey.
No, go. Hey, no. Look at me.
Oh my God, I might die.
Hey, look at me. Look at me. Be accountable and walk back and say sorry.
It's too late.
Sorry. I'm just having a moment. It's okay.
Oh my fucking goodness.
at him.
Okay, so one thing we're mentioning right now is that we all tend to cry when we're unable to voice something or put words to it or express ourselves. And so it comes out as crying or a strong emotion like crying. And so then KB needing to go cry in the bathroom is not surprising. It makes a lot of sense with what's going on. And I think it also speaks to the fact she had unspoken things for him. She wanted to say more, wants to have more of a conversation. He seems to not be understanding her. And then him walking away is also kind of embarrassing. Like that's something classically we've been trained to find as embarrassing. So when he did do that, I'm sure that did embarrass her, and make her want to cry also in that way. It also just like inherently shows that she like shows her body that she was unable to say something she wanted to say. If someone walks away, it shows you that there's unfinished stuff on your side, even if you don't know what that is that you weren't able to express, just sort of inherently. I'd also say Edmund coming to his friends and saying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Not cute. No. I'd rather he just sort of said like, oof, I just walked away from her. I'm not really sure even why. Like I made a mistake. And I think Jordan was absolutely right. Like go back, apologize, take accountability. And he already messed up by not even trying when she walked away. Okay. Moving right along now. So last scene, and it's a big one. Oh, last scene from Kalybriah and Edmond. Sorry, I have one more after this for Joe and Madison. Here we go.
Why do I always have to be the one to bring up the elephant in the room?
I tried to say something last night
When
I was trying to talk to you.
it's funny.
I'm not trying to laugh, but seriously, when I tried to come and talk to you, it's like, don't talk to me.
After the 4 or 5 things that you had already done, correct? Like, let's tell the whole story.
Yeah, you go.
Let's tell the whole story.
Sorry that there was laughter, by the way.
Tell me your story, Edmund. I'm going to tell you my story.
Right there's important. We're going to talk about that for a second. So as soon as she says, what's the story? You have a story, da, da, da. And he goes, yeah. You have a different story. I'm sure we have different stories. Like, which is such a like male misogynistic view of women and their stories. Like that we all have a different story that's so wildly off of yours, but yours are always the correct ones. Women's are crazy and emotional and relational, and it's extremely rude and minimizing and misogynistic. So, I really like where Kibby goes with this in a second. For one, she says, "Tell me right now, what was the issue that happened last night?" And he goes, Annie told Nick that he's perfect. Okay, right there, we already know that's not what happened. Exactly, not exactly the issue.
Annie told Nick that he's perfect. I thought it was funny. It was funny because like nobody's perfect, but here she is saying he's perfect, and I was just like, oh, that must be nice, as a joke.
It sucks that you tell stories and still don't be accountable in the midst of your damn stories. I'm going to tell my story. And I don't want you to interrupt me one time, okay? I was running errands all day, rushing from one appointment to the next. I told you before I left, like, hey, I'm going to try to stop by the store for us and find us some Western things, right? Called you at 3:30 after my appointment. I'm like, hey, babe, I'm running late. Can you get in the car, run to the store, and get us some belts and some scarves or something, or bandanas, something to be Western? I need to do my hair. I need to do my makeup, and I still need to eat. I haven't ate. And all I'm asking for is a little bit of help. Like, I'm just like, babe, can you please? I'm like, what you're doing? You're like, I'm just chilling right now. You have nothing to do other than cut your hair. I'm like, well, why can't you just run to the store? You told me, no, I don't want to be late. So I immediately get in my feelings because I don't ask you for anything. And in the midst of me asking you for help, you told me
There's
no.
a couple important things there. She's slowly going through using quotes. The point is when she says, I asked you for help and you said no. So even if she was someone who asks for help regularly, being told no at all is always upsetting. We don't like to be rejected. But he's also straight up saying to her, no, I don't want to be late. What he could have said in that moment was, no, I'm worried about us being late and that I'm going to contribute to that and make it worse for us because of my hair taking so long to cut. Is there any way we can go together on the way, try to leave a little early and go together on the way? Right? Or some other alternative option rather than being really deeply selfish and saying like, no, I don't want to be late. Not thinking about the fact that also put some extra burden on her. She's carrying all this extra labor of love, emotional labor associated with keeping track of what they need to wear and and getting the items they need for the Western theme. And he's not even thinking about it or doing any effort to fix that issue that she's holding it by herself, even as she asks him explicitly and says she's stressed out with how late she is. That is a major bummer. I have to agree.
I feel like when I'm looking for a husband, I'm looking for someone that wants to make my load lighter, wants to take weight off my shoulders. And in that moment, I called you in distress, and you just made me more stressed out. You could even run to Ross. Ross is like 7 minutes away. It's a mile away. 7 minutes, there and back, and got us belts and bandanas or whatever the hell I grabbed out of there. And you would have got back in time to do everything you need to do. So when I walk in the house, you're like, oh, hey, babe. There is no damn hey, babe. I'm stressed out. I'm hungry. I got 30 minutes to get ready. Then you keep coming and asking me questions. I said, Edmond, you hurt my feelings. Do you know what your response was? Instead of being accountable and simply saying, I'll try to do better next time, you told me that your feelings are hurt. The fact that you didn't even acknowledge my feelings and immediately made it about your feelings. You're not slow. Like, you're very smart. You're a very smart person.
Yeah, like that is a particularly tough moment that in that fight when she comes back, she's clearly not happy. He even says to us in the previous scene that happens after this that she came with everything that was wrong. So she was telling him what was not going well, and he still was like, "Oh hi," like, and then was like trying to be cheerful. Granted, like right, like him being like, "Hey babe," is him trying to start on a cheerful note to hopefully change her mood, which I do understand that instinct. But if instead he had said to her, "Hey babe, I'm so sorry. I'm now realizing I really should have helped out with this. Like, thank you so much for going to get the clothing. Oh God, I really wish I'd been able to do that instead of being so worried I was going to make us late. And like if there's something I can do to make it up for it, please let me know. I know you must be so stressed. Like, what if I massage your back while you're doing your makeup? Little idea. But if you don't have time to do that, that's fine too. But then, so I think him thinking, right, from his perspective, he's like, she's pissed. I started with, hey, babe, and she couldn't get there with me. She's not cheerful yet. So, like, why don't I go and, like, try to, ask her questions and try to be upbeat around her? So, him going up to her and asking questions probably was partly an attempt to cheer her up, but, like, also partly out of his need for reassurance. So, he's like, how do I look? What do I look Western enough? Bop, bop, bop. He can't even help it. Like, he needs that so much that he's not thinking about why that's poorly timed. Like, asking her when she already doesn't have any time to check out his outfit, when she's already trying to push through to get her stuff ready. He's had way more time. And then also just the fact that that's what he comes to her with when she's upset with him is really tough. She already has a hard time getting him positives, but certainly in that moment she would have a real hard time being complimentary to him. So, yeah, I also think what she's saying right now, you're not slow, you're very smart, right? Like that's also a way of building in some positive, which is what he likes. So I have to say that's actually probably not a bad idea, even though it wasn't strategic. I'm sure it is smart inclusion and just sort of like you're smart and I want to believe that you know what's going on here. Like, please help me see how you see this and why you don't see it the way I'm trying to help you see it, or whatever. Just want to add to like if Edmund had said about like how he looked after he tried to be cheerful, like, listen, I understand that like I totally screwed the pooch with it earlier. I did try to apologize when he first got home, but I understand might take some time for you to sort of like move through the feelings. When you're ready, I would love your input on my outfit because I'm feeling a little insecure. But I also understand this is weird time for me to ask about that. And also, it might be hard for you to compliment me when you're feeling this way about me. So I just was going to put that out there as just like a thing I needed to voice. But like, I also want you to have room to voice how you're feeling. So is there anything that went unfinished earlier? Make room for her to voice things right then. Maybe that'll help her get moving through her emotions if your apology earlier didn't work. Make sure you were taking accountability when you apologize too. And then you said, I'm sorry. And then the other thing before she says you're smart too is saying like, instead of taking accountability and saying, okay, because she says, my feelings are hurt. Like that's what's up. And he says, and instead of saying like, oh my gosh, you're right. I do understand that. Here's what I think I did wrong and how I want to do better. He says, my feelings are hurt. And so that's the same thing as what we saw in the bed that time where he said, well, I don't like that you've had one night stands. So now we're looking at her issues, not his. So now he's looking at how he's upset, not her. Now it's a problem where she hurt his feelings. We have to figure out what's wrong with her, not figure out what's wrong with him and why he needs to do better.
I don't be understanding you. You hurt my feelings and you're walking around the room and walking around the house. Oh, you like my shirt? Oh, you like this? Oh, I cut my hair. Da 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 da. Oh, I want to talk to you about this. You. So yes, I was on edge with you before the event. Cool. We start rolling. We getting towards the event. Cool. We having no problems. We talking in the car, making videos. You know there was no more beef. Boy, I held your arms and tried to hold your hand walking into the event. You know I will not hold your hand or touch you if I'm really upset with you. Now we at the event, right? I'm out there cheering you on, recording you riding the bull. We having a great time. And he goes, oh my gosh, you're so perfect, babe, or some shit like that, she says. Mind you, all of us are kind of like right there. And you go, oh, I would love to be talked to like that. And literally, I felt multiple eyes on me because when I looked up, they looked at me and then they tried to. One of Allie's mouth dropped due to the comment alone. Then you go, you put your drink down, and you look and you say, well, you know what, though? You haven't said nothing nice to me all day. More mouth drop. At this point, everybody is standing right there looking dead at us, and you just sat there and said that in front of everybody, making me look like the bad person when you know I hadn't said anything to you. Then as soon as I'm about to start responding, you go, "Oh, we don't have to talk about it. I don't want to do this here, babe. I don't want to do this here." So you can say things, but I can't respond. You can say things, but I can't react. That's unfair to me. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to let you have a good night, and I'm going to have a good night. You know you make me upset. You know you don't apologize. You know you're not accountable. And then you want to say, KB, I love you. KB, I need you. It's so manipulative. I don't care how you see it. So me, got teary-eyed, which I
think it was really good. She was able to just voice, like, you say something, when I go to speak, you say, no, I don't want to do that here. It's not fair that you can speak and I can't. And I think that's a common dynamic, and I think it's bullshit. And so I like that she called it out and said, no, that's not going to work here. And then I also like, and we did see it was a little more nuanced than that at the moment, but it is similarly that theme as well. What we saw here, what she's saying here, and true in many circumstances. So good modeling for us and how to bring that up. Okay, so, and then the fact that and then the fact that she is saying that's manipulative. So like she's basically saying, so you go from all this bullshit, you don't let me talk, and then you come to me and you say, I love you, I need you, as a way of washing over it without taking accountability. That's manipulative. It's manipulative because he's trying to control her emotion without her knowing he's doing it. That's what manipulative really means. It's like somebody trying to exert control over someone else's emotions in a way that they're not aware of and change them. So he's doing that right now. He's trying to do that. She's saying, I'm not into it. I don't care how you see it. It's the definition of manipulation. So she's right about that.
really fucking do. Had to go to the bathroom and I had a moment. And then as soon as I walk out, you walk by talking about let's talk. Fuck no. Apologize. Let me know what you're sorry for. Be accountable. Let me know how you're gonna fix it. But no. KB, I love you. KB, I need you. KB, KB. No, I mean, stop that shit, please. Stop. Because in that moment, that's not what I want to hear. And that's not an apology. I don't take that as an apology.
Okay, but I do apologize for.
For what?
I walked away. I should have stayed. I'm apologizing for not staying. I should have stayed and just listened.
Okay, so here he's talking about the time at the table, the mini table, when he walked away and left her there, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, probably was a source of discontent for her. It's uncomfortable. It made her cry. And as she's saying, she rarely does that, but he brought her to that point through the manipulation that he was enacting and then walking away. Again, manipulative, by the way, was also trying to force her into a feeling there of rejection. So, and I think probably because he was feeling rejected too, but it doesn't, regardless. I do think him saying I'm sorry for and her saying for what is a little rough, right? Like, but she has every right to be. She's upset for good reason. If she, wanted to give him a beat to say what he thinks he's sorry for and for real for, she might do that since she did ask him to do that. So, but he goes on to do that indeed. So it didn't really have a negative impact. And again, it was understandable given that she's, miffed at him for very good reason.
I should have stayed and just listened.
And I hear him about staying and listening when they're at the high top, but it is so much more than that.
But instead, I was just like got overwhelmed and didn't want to hear it. But I should have stayed, and I do apologize for not staying. Like, I apologize for walking away. I apologize for making the comment.
So notice now she's counting on her fingers and he's starting with a list. And there was a cut here in the scene. So I think in between there, she probably said something like, that's one thing. Tell me more.
About Annie and Nick being perfect. And
No. That's not the comment that bothered me. What's the comment that bothered me in front of everybody?
You haven't told me nothing nice all day.
Yeah, because why did you feel like that was an appropriate place to say that?
Love this. Love that she's like, nope. And stopped him right in the middle of the list. Like, no, that's not the comment. What was the comment? So he really had to dig into that with her because that is wild. He rewrote the history of that question, as we know, because we watched that back.
No one knows about our argument or how you make me feel. How about you apologize for what you did? Do you get that?
I do get that.
Apologize.
I've been apologizing to you.
No.
Okay.
I'm happy it's funny to you because it's so serious. It's like the laughing and all that is what like gets me going.
And even though the laughter is like nervous laughter, right? Like it also comes across as dismissive and like joking at her expense. And I understand why it makes her uncomfortable. And I also understand why he's doing it, right? Like again, feeling sensitive to the situation and trying to laugh to feel less sensitive to it, less vulnerable. I think in this case, he's sort of like laughing off that she's saying no. Again, no is like a rejecting word, so him being sensitive to rejection makes sense. He would find that vulnerable and want to say or laugh at it. He also has been apologizing in the last minute, but he has not been apologizing in general, which is why she's saying no. And it is kind of wild to be like, I've been apologizing to you as if it's been more than just the last 5 minutes. So, yeah. What he could have said was, I've been apologizing the last 5 minutes. I understand I have a lot more to go and a lot more accountability to take, and I am apologizing and I'm going to do better.
I do apologize, and I really do love you. I'm sure it's not nothing to joke around with, but it must be nice to hear something nice. When you just talk about everything that I'm like doing wrong and not saying not one nice thing.
So he again comes back to the fact that like he wants to be told he's good and that she likes him and that she's proud of him and so forth. He goes on to a couple of other examples, like you could backhand me and then compliment me, but at least compliment me. So I do think his need for reassurance is palpable and something she'd have to really contend with if she wanted to stay with him and if she wants to and if she does stay with him, because he clearly really needs that. Even if he's suffering and not doing very well as a husband, he still needs times where she is able to give him positives, which could be hard with her personality if that's just different, or if she just hasn't seen that done in the same way that he wants it done. It would be hard. But it also means for him, anytime he does something wrong, he thinks he's like the worst person, that she thinks he's the worst person. Rather than if she's complimenting him and generally loves him, he might have more room for self-compassion and thinking that she loves him anyway, even though he made a mistake.
Say something nice. You can say something nice and then backhand me, but say something nice. Or like, or just say something nice though. Really, just say something nice. I need you to do that, like, cause like you forgetting why you fell in love with me.
I never said I forgot.
It's so hard. It's so hard. I think like it's just testing us to see how strong we are together. But I'm still stuck on you. You're still all I want. Get in our crib, have a kid still. I'm still all locked in on you. But I still do love you. I still want to do this with you.
It's interesting he's saying he's still interested in her when really he's the one who's sort of in trouble. Like, I don't think she worries that he wants to be in it. I think she's worried that he won't take accountability when he needs to. So the way he's sort of taking power back by being like, I still love you, don't worry, I still love you, I still want to be in this, is rough. And again, she sort of is reactive to that. She responds to that in the way he wants her to, and sort of saying, like, I obviously haven't forgotten about how I love you either.
I mean, if I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't be here. So I stay because I know I love you. I stay because I know there was a reason why I chose to say yes to you. I stay because I see your potential. But potential has broken my heart plenty of times before. So
Or
it
she's
puts me in a
basically saying,
dilemma.
like, when there's a fixer upper, we don't really tend to do well in relationships that are fixer uppers. So I don't want one of those this time. And she's right. Like, having someone where you feel like you can change them or fix them is not the move. And something that Dr. Ray and I were worried about with this relationship in particular last time, with her being a social worker and him being a foster care kiddo, because it already sets up that dynamic of her trying to save him from the get-go.
I want to hold myself accountable to like everything that like I said sorry for.
Good. Keep it moving. Keep the accountability going.
And also the things that you brought to my attention. Period.
I would like to see that. I appreciate you saying that you'll be accountable now.
I just wanted to say, I think this was another opportunity for him to list off the things specifically. Like, I want to keep working on what you said about like how I tend not to take accountability in the moment. Instead, I make it about me, and that I also don't seem to be listening to you very often in a way that I can indicate through how I respond to you. And that when I apologize, I need to say what I'm apologizing for, or just like a few things of what they've talked about, and then say like and others, and then that might go a little bit further. But she did take well to this apology.
And I shouldn't have allowed myself to get as elevated or as heightened. And I apologize for that. I should be more open to hearing your perspective, even if I don't agree with it or understand it. So I apologize for that. And I don't be trying to beat you up. Even in the midst of me talking to people yesterday when I explained, I'm like, I'm not beating him up. I love that man. That's the man I chose. I'm still going to choose him.
Okay. So I just want to say that in general, I picked that clip because I actually think KB did a beautiful job holding him accountable, slowing it down, going through her narrative, making him listen and sort of take it easy, not getting activated enough that they became sort of enthralled in a screaming match or anything. Like she really slowed it down and held him accountable even as he was responding. Like, no, that's not what that story was. No, that's not the comment that bugged me. There really isn't much I would say that she could have said differently. I thought it was great. And I think, Edmond earlier could have been taking accountability instead of saying, I was just saying that Nick was perfect. But generally, he did better in this scenario than otherwise, too. So, okay. That wraps it on KB and Edmond and their relationship, which, again, she's a social worker. He's a kiddo that was in the foster care system. So it sets up an interesting dynamic between the two of them that will always have a power dynamic there, always have a power element as a part of it. And you can feel that, but you can also feel him trying desperately to take back power. And frankly, she's also going to want to be sometimes in the power down position because we all have that instinct. We want to be power up, power down, and power with throughout our lifespan. So she's going to have the instinct, if not right away, right now, but like in the future, especially if she doesn't have people like that in other parts of her life that are in the power position over her, then she's going to eventually want him to have that. And then, what is that going to look like otherwise? And what's his resentment going to be that he's not that at baseline, not alpha at baseline? So, yeah, considerations. Okay. Last but very much not least, we're going to do a little bit about Madison and Joe. This is also the honeymoon suite. And only this one clip.
No, Jesus Christ.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you so freaked out?
I know.
Okay, how are you feeling?
Feeling good.
Is that too cold?
Oh, what are you
It's my hand.
all fucking dressed up nicely. Yeah, yeah.
What?
I feel like you're ready. Yeah.
What? I just came back from the pool party.
Seriously?
Yes.
You were there at the pool party tonight?
What? Are you okay?
Yeah, no.
You're like freaking me out a little bit.
No, I didn't know you were still there. I thought everybody...
Well, yeah, you left early, and then you told me to stay there, and so I stayed, and now I'm back checking on you.
Well,
And I'm getting ready for bed. And it was good. I missed you. Did you just drink too much?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, worth noting that in the end of the scene at the party he was at, that he left early to come back and nap, he did apparently say to Madison, I had too much to drink, I need to go sleep, which is great. Because when I first watched this, I was like, please tell her you're drunk, or like tell her why you're leaving so she doesn't think it's her. Because we didn't actually see that I'm aware of. But apparently he did tell her, I drank too much, I need to go take a nap. But throughout this entire scene, we're going to see that he gets very upset whenever she references his drinking. So clearly there's something there. He has a sensitivity around the idea of getting fucked up or being drunk or getting drunk. Maybe someone in his life had told him he has to stop drinking, has a drinking problem, whatever. Sorry. She said she's been a really sleepy boy. He said, I wouldn't say that. I just wanted to pause right there again to say that's also like pretty condescending. Pretty sleepy boy is tough. So I can see why he would say, I wouldn't say that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a really sleepy boy.
I wouldn't say that.
Do you want water?
Sure.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Fucking so dark. Here. You're like worrying me a little.
Why am I worried?
You're kind of being like incoherent.
Here?
Yeah. Joe, can you please just drink some water?
What do you mean I'm being incoherent?
There you go. You see him bury his head in the pillow saying incoherent. Interesting because it's sort of like he can't say incoherent or something because he puts his head in the pillow when he finishes the word. Maybe he had trouble saying it. Not sure.
Like I probably took a nap. What were you
Just focus on what she was doing is not good. Feels the concern with both where have you been and what are you wearing feels triggered like old memories of telling women that they look nice because they must have been going somewhere to cheat on him, or where were you because you were probably cheating on me kind of energy. Doesn't feel good.
I was at the pool party. I just told you came back early from the party and like you were really fucked up, and then like I come in here and
Right.
All I needed is
I didn't like that.
I know, but then I sat down with you and you're like not even recognizing that I'm wearing the same outfit that we were like making out in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Joe, you just asked me the same question like 4 times.
Why are you crying?
Okay, this is important. Again, with a sort of like, I'm trying to express myself and I can't, and that's why I'll cry. So, like, crying becoming an expressive outlet or sort of trapdoor where, like, we feel like we can't express ourselves otherwise. She's trying to say to him, I'm really getting scared here. You're not noticing, but you're asking me the same question over and over again. I'm getting frustrated. I don't know how to express that. So I'm starting to get tearful. He, wired as a man to be misogynistic and hate women who have emotions, is sort of like, why are you crying if it doesn't make sense? So, like, you should stop. As if that's the only reason one would cry, as if a man thought it was a good reason or not.
Because you've asked me the same
Same
question
empty
4
random, not that
times
fucked
and
up,
you're
not that
freaking me
drunk.
out.
You freaked out?
Joe, you have asked me 4 times where I've been.
Not a big deal.
Don't be freaked out. That's what.
We're gonna be freaked out.
Anyway, no, I'm good.
Okay, Joe, I'm walking away.
So she walked away, but really it was unfinished business, right? So not surprising she might cry. Yeah. Joe gets upset. So she's crying.
Fucking smart. A fucking cactus.
I just want to say I was confused about where she was going because it looks like a shower door. If you look closely, let me go back a little bit, but when she's going out there, look at this. This is a shower door with a towel, and that's a shower setup. When she's outside, it looks like the outside deck. So maybe it's an outdoor shower connected to an outside deck, and there's a cactus involved. Bitching on his own.
No, it's just fine. This is fine.
Looking what? Okay. No, it's just funny.
Are you talking to me?
Alright.
Okay, so now he's in the bathroom talking to himself, annoyed with her. It's fucking fine. It's fucking fine. Da da da. I don't know what's wrong with you. Kind of an idea. It's like I don't know why you're crying. Kind of an idea. She overhears him. I don't think he knew she was there, like in the showery cactusy thing.
I was taking a nap. Are you mad at me?
No, Joe, stop. I came in and I checked on you. I was like, hey, like, you okay?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my, why are you so dressed? Where have you been?
Yeah, I'm waking up. I don't know if you've ever woke up before. Like, I'm waking up. I'm asking questions, and I just don't know.
Joe, it was the fact that you asked me the same question like 7 times. Because you left the pool party because you were so fucked up.
No, don't quit saying that. Jesus Christ. That was literally me waking up. Okay?
And that was literally me coming in and making sure you're okay. Because you said you were fucked up and needed to come back.
Okay, so obviously more content around that fucked up and he doesn't like it thing. We're gonna hear a little bit more about that in a second too. Just want to mention he was laughing a few seconds ago, and that's very dismissive. And it was interesting that when he was alone in the bathroom, he was sort of like playing through things he might say, and he said, "No, it's just funny. It's just funny," as if he'd laughed and had to explain that. So it's almost like in his, role playing, he also imagined laughing as a way of dismissing it, so it wouldn't be taken seriously.
Quit saying that. Jesus Christ. I'm like, yeah, I fucking came back, and I went to bed.
But what do you mean, stop saying that? Stop saying what? What you said to me?
Are you coming in hot?
He was almost looking around the room to see if anyone was there after she said that he was fucked up, which was interesting. He might not have been, but it almost looked like instinctually doing that. And he's saying like, no, I really wasn't, again, defending against it. And then she says, what? Like, you told me earlier that you were fucked up. So I'm just repeating that. He's like, are you coming in hot? So then that gets her frustrated with him, sort of like, what is this? Like,
You're right. I'm sorry I came in and sat on the bed and scratched your back, and got you a water. You're right, I'm coming hot. Sorry. What the fuck, Joe?
Again, he's
Fuck me
laughing
for trying.
dismissively.
Seriously, fuck me for, like, trying to help.
Okay, woman. I feel like I woke up and I'm here, and now that's what I feel like, so. I don't know.
Just about the last part where he's like, ugh, woman. Like, we would never be like, ugh, man. Like, yeah, that's okay, man. You know, it's sort of just, it's like something about dismissively being like woman as a way of emphasizing, like, that's just you and your emotions, girl. Like, kind of a thing. Which is why I said that was sexist. I also think he sort of like, well, I think I just woke up and that's what, have you ever woken up before? Is, again, quite dismissive. So I'm going to stop sharing just to say the last little bits about what I would say if I were either Joe or Madison. So one is, as Madison, after I noticed that he was repeating himself and concerning me, she could have said one possibility, although it was understandable she reacted how she did in the moment, say like, hey, I'm noticing you're asking me the same questions a lot of times. Are you like falling back to sleep immediately in between me saying something? Like, what's happening for you right now? Like, do you remember you just asked me that? You know, one thing I would worry about in terms of functioning like that is just maybe he had mixed things, like maybe there's also marijuana involved, or maybe more scary is a benzodiazepine, like Xanax, which can definitely help people black out. And then if he was still having blackout things when, you know, having woken, that might be an explanation for some of the memory loss. Again, also just drinking too much does do that too. He's waking up and he doesn't remember what's happening. He clearly was triggered a little bit by what she was wearing, or like that he sort of lumped her in with someone else he'd been with, because then he suddenly was worried she'd been somewhere that he didn't know about, dressed up nicely when he didn't know about it, even though she was just at a party that he was also at, etc. So he's, yes, waking up, sort of getting a grip. So she's worried. I think that those things would be valid to sort of say, just sort of like, hey, I'm noticing this happening. It is concerning me. I'm trying not to freak out, but it is kind of weird that you've asked me the same thing repeatedly. If you're just like, hey, I'm just waking up, I'd be like, okay, listen, I'm going to go back down to the pool, give you some time to wake up. When I come back, I'd like to talk about this because it just was a little concerning. I'm sure it's nothing, but I'd love to be able to hear from you that you understand what happened tonight and that you understand how this conversation went. Then I'd go walk away. Madison very clearly like went outside to cry to hope that he would come see her and hug her and squeeze her, which is what she needed when she was crying. It's what we all need when we cry. That's why evolutionarily babies cry, so they can be held and attended to, have their needs attended to. So we're conditioned as babies to do that and throughout the rest of our lives. Cry when we need someone to support us, hug us, kiss us. So clearly she needed that, and she was bugged out by what he was being like, and then also upset with him for being mad at her for being worried. And then I think he also was mad at her for being worried about him when I'm just waking up, you know, and then being like dismissive and think it's funny and laugh at her, which is never going to help her case. So, or for her. So really just being able to instead pivot and give her a hug would have been a big help there. I think also sort of saying like, yeah, you know, using the waking up thing and the drinking thing more kindly instead of dismissively would have been fine if he was able to just say like, I'm just waking up. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was repeating myself. Maybe I was falling asleep in between what I was saying and I just didn't even notice, but I'm so sorry. That's probably like just also annoying. So, thank you for telling me. I also think that I did drink a lot earlier, which is why I needed to take the nap. So I'm going to try to sober up, wake up a little bit more, walk it off, drink some water. So, maybe we don't talk for now and then we come back together when I'm a little bit more awake. Or, you know, you could say, I repeated myself again on that. Wow. Okay. Well, you have a different answer now, you know, sort of make light of it this time or whatever. But certainly like not being dismissive, not making light of it a dismissive way either. Just sort of in a playful way of sort of like, oh God, that's weird. Like, you have a different answer this time though? No? Okay. Yeah, no, I won't ask anymore. Thank you. I understand. Why don't we talk about something else? Like, or why don't we watch some TV while we wake up? Or why don't we walk outside and look at the moon while we wake up? Or why don't I have some water and then we'll talk again? A number of those things could have worked. I think obviously going out and hugging Madison when she was crying would have been key. I also think on Madison's part, just sort of saying like, instead of getting truly like perturbed by it on a personal level, just sort of saying like, listen, this is weird what you're doing. I'm not sure why you're doing it or what's happening for you, but it is concerning me. So I want to talk about this at some point. Maybe this is not the right time, but at some point we need to, because I just don't know what this means or what happens for you when this happens and how I can help, how I could have done something differently. I felt like I was supporting you and I felt like you were punishing me for that. Not sure that would be effective so much as just being able to say what I would feel in her situation. You don't want to like escalate him either, right? Like have him be more upset and then more laughy dismissy, which is why I keep saying things in like a closed-ended way of sort of like, then we'll keep it moving. We'll walk away from each other, come back, so you have time to wake up more. But yeah, I understand why she was more nervous, but I do think, giving it some space and coming back to talk about why that happened, or to show he knows that happened, or that's something that happens to him, or that he took offense over the first time, or blah, blah, blah. That would help give her helpful context. And just saying to him, I've got to the point where I care about you. It's just, it sucks. And I'm sorry it feels like I'm being like overly intrusive, but I just am worried because I care. Can you say more about what's going on for you? That's it. Okay. This ended up being a super long episode, so I'm just going to wrap it up. You can find our social medias at Reality Test Pod. You'll find that's the case for TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. We're at Reality Test Podcast for Instagram. Also at Dr. K Pods and at Dr. Ray Pods for Dr. Ray. You can also find us on email at realitycheckpodding@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Tell all your friends. It's only $5 to come join us on Patreon. You can go to Patreon as a free member as well and get our audio episodes a night beforehand. Otherwise, our audio episodes come out Monday mornings, except tonight because I was recording this late. And then the other thing is that you can free member it up to get the audio early, or be a member for $5 a month. Very cheap. You might even get a free year-long membership if you join us soon, because we're giving those out as a bonus. You can join for $5 a month to get all of our extra goodies, behind the scenes videos and things like that, as well as a full video episodes of this, for example, where we cut out half of it if you're watching this on YouTube, because if you don't have Patreon, then you're watching our YouTube versions of the video, and those are free, but half of the episode. So if you'd like to see more of it, see my reactions to more of it, see more of the video of the episodes, head on down to Patreon. All right, friends. It was a joy and a pleasure to be here with you randomly, one-on-one solo dolo. Hope you all have a fabulous rest of your week, and we will see you next session.